The church is actually like a homemaker, like a breeding ground for hoes. And we had this chastity speaker. Basically, she went up and she said, I got ran through, but then I found God, praise God. And then the husband was like, oh yeah, and I found her after this. I was a virgin and I waited. And I realized it's always the women who didn't wait. And I'm like, oh, it's like they're kind of marketing, you can be a hoe and then find a husband. Oh, it's like that's what they're marketing to young women. On top of that, the pastors have this reputation for screwing the congregation. Justin Bieber's priest or whatever pastor came out. I'm like, no wonder they preach forgiveness, because he wants to screw all the hoes. And so what he's saying is, all of you guys can wait. I'm going to screw them and add to the bodies. And then you guys can all marry them after I'm done. Because the guys will all tell me the girls are worse in the church. And I'm like, why would they be worse? Because they basically market that you can be a hoe forever and then get a husband at the end. And so then all the hoes go.
First and foremost, if you are going to a church where a pastor is involved in a bunch of sexual scandals and is sleeping with everybody in that church, probably should get out of the church. I don't understand what people still stay there. I even talk to people who attend these churches, and I'm like, why are you going to this church where these pastors doing these things? They're like, oh, well, my mom goes there, my grandmother goes there, blah, 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 blah. You're going to a community center. It's not even a church at this point. It's a community center that's not even good for the community. You can find another church where there's a pastor who's not doing shady stuff. If you're in Michigan, you can come to mine. I'm not even upset that someone has this mindset of the church, because on one side of the spectrum, you got people that's complaining about purity culture and holiness churches that are too strict. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you got people that's complaining about the church being too loose. Situations like this. It's like there's no in between. Yes, all churches should be teaching forgiveness, but we shouldn't leave things out, like consequences. We are supposed to be teaching scripture, and all scripture is breathed out by God for teaching, for correction, and it's for righteousness, training in righteousness, so that we can be complete in God. That's 2 Timothy chapter 3. Of course, God can forgive you of all your past sins, but there are consequences to your action. Just because he forgives you doesn't mean there aren't any consequences. David messed up, he repented, but there are still consequences. Moses messed up, but guess what? There were still consequences. I am a virgin, and I believe that sex is only for a husband and wife, and so therefore I won't have sex unless I get married. And if I don't get married, I just remain a virgin. But however, I just want you to know that whether you're a virgin or not a virgin, that doesn't mean that you're guaranteed marriage just because you're going to church. Everybody is not going to get married. I'm sorry. I know that there are prophets that want to hand out prophecies as if they're Oprah giving out a gift saying, you're going to get married and you're going to get married and you're going to get married. Everybody's not going to get married. That's just the truth of it. And we should be content with our relationship with God, whether you're single or you're married. You should be happy with your relationship with God. Marriage isn't the focus of going to church. Jesus is supposed to be the focus when you go to church.